There's a quote that says, "Your consciousness is a gift from God, but what you do with it is your gift to God." But yet, it's the thing that most people spend the most amount of time avoiding. I know I did for a very long time. I would ignore the things that were going on in my head because I didn't want to chase after a goal because I thought it was too big. I would not take action on the things that I wanted to because I was scared other people would judge me. I wouldn't actually tell people what I was thinking because I wanted people to like me. And I forced myself to fit in this box, even though I would always hear my conscience telling me the things that make me me. And for a long time, I would suppress it. And recently, I had an experience that made me want to talk about this, that kind of brought this topic back up to my mind. Because when I think about how I hear my conscience within inside of me, it's like a quiet whisper that pretty much tells me a lot of the times the things that I should not do and kind of pushes me in the right direction. But I still find myself challenging that voice and saying, like, maybe it's actually the right move and I'm just being nervous, and it will force me to like make up these delusions to choose something even if I know it's not correct. And to give you an example, recently I had been presented with 3 different paths that I can take. One was a complete sidestep from what I believed I wanted to do. One was kind of in alignment, and one was just kind of staying on the same path. And so I go to this meeting with an individual who's essentially trying to offer me a position within one of the opportunities, and he is talking to me about his opportunity and then one of the other opportunities that I was presented with. And the whole time he's just talking about how this one's so great and blah, blah, blah. And we even get down to the point where we're doing like pros and cons graphs on a board saying we should go with this one or this one. And like, as we were talking, the more that we spoke and I wrote down the pros and cons and all of these things, the more we realized that we weren't actually talking about either one of these opportunities. That what I was doing was allowing fear to creep in to my life. And I want to make this video because transparently I feel as if I talk as if I have it all figured out. But this was an example of how fear showed up within my life. Essentially, if you've seen The Matrix, as the girl in the red dress, I was looking at these different opportunities that all could have given me some type of status or success. But in reality, what it was doing was it was allowing me to take an easy way out instead of continuing down the journey and pursuing the goals that I have set for myself. And so towards the end of the meeting, when we kind of realized this, he told me that if this was something that I truly wanted to do, God did not create us to be fearful. And so I need to go all in on my decision and listen to what my conscience is telling me I should do. And the crazy part is I knew that before I went into the meeting. I more so took it because he was a friend of a family member. And when I turned down the opportunity that they presented to me, I knew that to my family, to my friends, to whoever I told about this experience, I would sound delusional. And you normally do when you first start listening to your conscience, because it forces you to dream bigger. And it's not as if like you're special and like you randomly are the only person that can have it. The reason why you sound delusional is because everybody has that voice. And you can tell because when we were kids, when people would ask us what we wanted to be, we would all say these like big dreams of being an astronaut or like whatever the heck we wanted to say. And everyone at that time, because we were kids, would be like, oh yeah, dream big. You can do anything. Like always believe in yourself. And then as we start to get older, the song that people sing to us change. And they start saying, you need to be more realistic. You need to be a doctor. You need to be a lawyer. You need to go down one of these, normally like 3 or 4 paths if you want to be successful. And so your big dream starts to become just an illusion. And I remember the first time that I ever experienced this, I was in, I think it was 6th grade English. And we were told to write about what we wanted to do once we got to college. And I wrote that I wanted to play college football. And I got a C on my paper. And in red ink at the top, it said, if you want, you like choose a more realistic goal and turn it back in. Pretty much is what it said. And it was saying like, I need to be more realistic with my life. And so I remember I went up to her and I talked to my teacher at the time. And she was like, there's thousands of people who want to play college football. And I just think if you do not allow yourself to think more realistic, you're going to let yourself down. And fast forward, I end up signing to play college football and that teacher was there. And she pretty much said, I'm sorry, and different things like that. But that was just one of the first examples that I had of somebody starting to say, maybe dream smaller. Maybe don't listen to that voice in your head, like be more realistic. And it's like, I was lucky enough to have parents who I tell them these crazy dreams, and no matter how much they want me to go down one path, they support me. And that has been something that continues to drive me forward, because I know that by achieving this, I can give back to the people that I love. And that's one of my core drivers as to why I want to continue down this road. But a lot of people don't have that. And then whenever they don't have that external support and they do start trying to chase after what their conscience is telling them to do, they start to resist it because of all of the resistance that they get from the external world. And it's like, your consciousness is there to guide you. It's there to help you fulfill the mission that you were put on this earth to fulfill. And a majority of people will ignore that. And again, to even kind of hammer this point home, in the beginning, it will be hard to listen to it, because until the external world shows what you feel internally, you will be delusional in other people's eyes. People will think of you as crazy. Like even Socrates, who is known for having that inner spirit that would always whisper to him the things that he shouldn't do and like motivates him and drives him, or drove him to be able to do the things that he did, teach the things that he did. People, at the end of the day, he was put to death for it because they thought he wasn't falling in alignment with the rules. But like he believed in his consciousness and the thing that he called it his daemon, which is like just essentially a higher spirit that kind of helps guide you. And so he believed in that so much that whenever he was put up for trial, it told him not to run. It told him to stand by his beliefs. And he died with dignity because he stood by what his conscience told him to do. And because of that, he's been able to make such a huge impact on the people who read about him and learn about the lessons that he taught and like the way he lived his life. And it's like, anytime you want to do something extraordinary, you're going to have to act out of alignment of the ordinary, and people will look at you funny. People will try and pull you back, because the further you get along your journey, the more you will remind them that they let that voice die within inside of them. And so it's almost as if you're holding up a mirror saying, this is what you could have been, and people can't handle that. And so they try and pull you back down and pull you back into a reality that confirms that the decisions that they chose to make with their life was the correct one. And this is what's called essentially like a pendulum. And what a pendulum is a process of group thinking. And it's one of the, I guess you can say, devil's like greatest tools to be able to get people to not listen to their conscience and fall in line with the programming that most people live by. And so what a pendulum is, it's a group thinking. And so if you think about like a sporting event, like energy is multiplied by the amount of people who are thinking the same thing. And so that's why stadiums can get so loud whenever they're a bunch of people rooting for their home team, why people can get into fights, why emotions can rise, and like people can act out of alignment, because it all goes in with group thinking. And whenever you start to separate yourself from the group, the pendulum, the people within it, will try and grab you and pull you back in. And you have to continue to pursue what you know is correct, and eventually, over a long enough time horizon, you will become a pendulum. And that's how influencers are created, because like in the beginning they thought they were crazy. Like, look at Mr. Beast, and at the beginning everyone thought like, oh well, like that's a waste of time. He struggled a lot, and then he persevered, and now he's at a point where millions and millions of people watch his videos within the first like 10 minutes of it being posted, because now he is a new pendulum. People look at him and they say, this is the sign of success within social media. And so people will sit there and they will block off their day, they will waste their time on this earth, and they'll just watch these videos of people doing whatever the heck Mr. Beast decided to put together. And like, he has now become a pendulum. And it's like, for you to become a pendulum, you have to be able to continue to pursue what you know is correct and not get caught up in the group thinking of other people for long enough for people to start to notice and kind of follow you, because you're becoming a leader. And for you to lead, you have to first become somebody worth following. And for you to do that, you have to have your own opinions that differ in a way from other people, because if you are somebody that just spits the same information as every single person that you're around to try and fit in, you don't stick out. And that, again, is just going to keep you stuck. But like, once you start listening to your conscience and you take the actions that like feel right, and you continue to pursue the goals that you have, you will realize that like everything else was just a distraction. And it's like, whenever you first set your goal, this loops back to the story that I said in the beginning. So whenever you first set your goal, fear will pop up and try and deter you from continuing down that path, or people will try and stop you because you're leaving the current pendulum. And so Alex Hormozi, or like The Matrix more specifically, kind of talk about how like distractions can be the girl in the red dress. So if you think about it as like you continuing down this path and you put your awareness on the goals that you have and you start moving towards it, you'll start to get like these distractions come at you, and they'll essentially be fear wrapped up in a different blanket and wearing a different dress, hoping that eventually it will look good enough to persuade you from trying to leave the current path that you're on. But as long as you listen to your conscious, or that inner compass that you have, and you continue to pursue and just keep walking in the vision that you see in your head, as long as you persist, you will get there eventually. Always remember that persistence is your birthright. And as long as you can continue to persist and continue to go and walk down the path and learn the things that you need to learn and challenge yourself in the way you need to challenge yourself, you will allow yourself to step into the version of you that you need to be able to achieve your goals. And that's one of the greatest feelings that you can have, being somebody that will continue to pursue a goal until they get there, because that's where you find purpose. At least that's for me and most of the people I talk about. You find purpose in the pursuit. Like, it's, if you think about like almost any award you've ever won, or like anything that you've tried to achieve in the external and you work really hard for it, it may suck in the moment, but like once you get it, you're like, wow, that journey was the most memorable part. Like, maybe you feel good in the moment whenever you achieve that thing, but it's like that journey you go through to be able to get there is the most memorable part about the whole thing. And an example of this is whenever I was in college, I rushed a fraternity, and it's like pledging. You have to go through all these different experiences with your pledge brothers. And what this does is it just builds you guys together. And like once we became active members, like a majority of the time we spent just kind of laughing about going through pledging and just like talking about the things that like we had to go through to be able to achieve the goal. And it was like, yes, being in the fraternity was fun, but it's like you have that deeper connection with your pledge brothers because of the things that you guys all experienced together. And so I say all of this as a reminder that God gave you a conscience, and it will tell you your path in life, but it's your choice to choose if you let it.